All right, man. So we just wrapped up the second to last game, which was the Rams versus the Eagles. The Eagles ended up pulling that one off in a close barn burner, 28-22. So pretty much, I'm gonna do like I did last video. I'm just gonna kind of go through and give like the overall game statistics. But I will say this, man. This was a pretty unique game. Just even the flow of the game, and I get it. The weather conditions probably are some things that kind of influenced the game to go the way that it did go. But it was a real tricky game. I mean, it was at one point I thought the LA was going. Well, at the beginning of the game, based off how the Eagles came out on their first possession, they drove down the field with pretty much ease, and I liked the balance. It was a pass run balance that ultimately led to Jalen Hurts running, I think, this touchdown right here in for a score. And I was like, man. And then even after they came back and he ran it in when Saquon had that 62-yard touchdown run. In my mind, I'm thinking like, man, this game finna really get ugly real fast. But the Rams was able to make the adjustments. And if you want to be honest, Saquon had a phenomenal game. But for the most part, I think they did have him kind of contained to where it was like a lot of, if you take away some of those big breaks, those long runs, then you kind of, minimize his productivity. And I mean, like I say, but that's a big what if. I mean, on some of those plays, it could have just been missed tackles. But I think that one thing that Saquon done good was allowing his blocks to develop and setting them up like the very last touchdown run he had. It just showed his poise and his patience, and it's phenomenal. Even just seeing that guy's burst, man. But he had one hell of a game. You can't take that away from him. I think that if maybe the center had never went down for the Rams. What was his name? He was a rookie defensive tackle, and he was actually leading in sacks in terms of rookie defensive lineman. But he went down a little early on in the game, ended up missing the game. And I think that interior presence they missed because that's where most of the runs that they ran in terms of the Eagles on the Rams did was up through the middle. But now I'm gonna get into like the little statistics of the game, right? So we have total yards going to the Rams had 402 total yards and the Eagles had 350. Now, this is a very interesting stat line right here in terms of the Eagles. So the Rams had 291 passing yards. Obviously, Staff was out there slinging that thing. And if it went for a couple passes that was dropped and maybe even Puka Nacua never losing his footing on that one route, there would have even been more passing yards. But they ended up throwing for 291 yards, Rams did, and the Eagles only threw for 65, which is terrifying to me, considering that you have two of the best receivers in the game in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I get it. Everybody has been kind of, saying that's been their Achilles heel, just not being able to pass the ball. And Jalen Hurts was trying to dress it up nicely. And I get it to a degree. I really do. When it's saying, okay, it's not that we can't pass the ball. If we're running the ball this effectively, which they were the second team in rushing behind the Ravens, why not play to your strength? So I get that. But it's just, to me, it's like when I see those times where you kind of need to make plays through the air, I'm just not seeing them being made. So that's what makes me a little nervous about the Eagles. So now we're going to go down to the rushing yards. The Rams had 111 rushing yards, whereas the Eagles had 285. Yards per play was actually dead even. Rams had 5.7 yards per play. The Eagles had 5.7. First downs, for the most part, was pretty even. The Rams had 18, Eagles had 16, so the Rams just had two more first downs than them. Third down was almost directly equal as well. The Rams was 6 for 16, and the Eagles was 6 for 15. On fourth down, it was close to being equal again. The Rams was 1 for 2. The Eagles was 1 of 1, and then total plays was pretty close as well. The Rams was 70, and the Eagles was 61. And sacks, the Rams had 5 sacks and the Eagles had 7. And, the way it was looking, the Rams was amping it up in terms of their pressures they was putting on Jalen Hurts. Now, granted, you can probably say, okay, he got hurt, so that probably stalled his mobility to a degree. But I mean, honestly, they were putting pressure on him for the most part. And I think a lot of the Eagles sacks, because, kind of came in the later part of the game when they kind of jumped up and the Rams kind of was in do or die situations where you had to pass the ball. And it's a little bit more easy to deal with when we know when it's a pass, it's a must have situation. You in third and long and you ain't having that much success running the ball, 9 times out of 10, what you're going to have to do is pass. So it makes you a little bit more one-dimensional. It's easier to prepare for that opposed to you kind of being able to control the momentum of the game and really take your time and do exactly what it is that you would like to do. But both defensive lines played pretty good in this game. If you look at punts, the Rams punted the ball 5 times. The Eagles punted the ball 4 times. Penalties, they were pretty even. They both had 3 apiece. Rams had 3 for 30. Eagles had 3 for 14. The turnover battle, the Rams most definitely lost. They had 2 fumbles lost, and the Eagles had 0. Neither one threw an interception. Interceptions came close on both sides. And like I say, Staff almost threw one later on in the game when he was trying to drive down the field. Time of possession was, like I said, once again, pretty much equal. Rams had the ball for 29 minutes and 6 seconds, and the Eagles had the ball for 30 minutes and 54 seconds. So, like I say, man, it was a kind of even game, and I think the weather played a very big part. But I will say this, in my honest opinion, let me know what y'all think. If you disagree, you disagree. And if you agree, you agree. Just let me know. I think that in different conditions, I think the Rams would have pulled that game off. Now, granted that the Rams are an indoor team, you know, with a facility, and it's California. They don't really see that type of weather. They came out and performed like, you know, a team who really wanted it, and they showed up when they needed to. So, you know, man, you always got to salute that. I want to bring out, obviously, the player of the game. Man, I meant to put my stats down, man. God, dog. I just know he had 200-some yards rushing, and I know 2 touchdowns, and that was Saquon Barkley, obviously. But I also want to throw somebody else in there, too, for the Eagles. And that was Darius Big Play Slay. Darius Slay, I mean, from the first quarter up until the fourth, he was making plays all night. He even made some plays on that last drive with the Rams to kind of slow down the momentum that they was moving down the field with. So, man, he played a phenomenal game. Even my man Jalen Smith with the punch out fumble on the Rams running back. That was a hell of a play. So, like I say, man, the Eagles, they made some plays. Defense stepped up when they needed them to most. I'm curious to see exactly what it is that's going on with Jalen Hurts. How hurt is he? Or were they just not taking the risk with running them in this game? And, you know, obviously that's going to be a deciding factor in their game come next week going up against the Commanders. But this video is not a preview of that. This video is just kind of do like a little brief recap of this game. You know, like I said, man, I think in a lot of ways this game was kind of even to a degree, if you really want to be honest. And obviously the weather conditions played a part in that. Let me know what you guys think. If you think that it was one-sided and on this end or that end, and it was something that I might have missed, or if it was something that I said that you might want to elaborate on, man, I'd be very interested in hearing you guys' response, man. So, you know, drop whatever it is in the comments that you got to say. And I had a couple of notes written down too. But I mean, it wasn't really too much. And I will say too, this is one of the notes I did have down, and this is why I do respect the Eagles in terms of their receivers, because just like what we were saying, the Eagles only had 65 passing yards. I'm pretty sure, I can't even think how many yards that Devontae Smith had receiving, or even A.J. Brown. But I say that to say this, regardless of the passing yards or the lack thereof in terms of the passing game, these guys are still committed to the team because of the blocking. So when you see these plays that Saquon Barkley is breaking, it's not like how it was when he was with New York, when he was kind of having to really get it out the mud because he didn't have nothing. He's running behind a pretty solid offensive line, and he has receivers that's committed to the greater good of the team. So if I can't affect the game in the pass, I can still affect the game in the run. And let's just make sure I dominate my assignment in the run game in terms of blocking, and that'll create opportunities down the line. And, you know, they probably say themselves, our time will come. It ain't our time. And I think that that's a very selfless mentality. And I mean, that can kind of come from coaching and just the overall, you know, the spirit of the team. Even when you look at Saquon, never wanted to stand out away from his team with all the gold, with all the records broken and things like that, with him sliding down and not wanting to get these records, just kind of trying to separate himself. I think that that's a very good team camaraderie that they do have. But like I said, man, I ain't gonna talk y'all to death, man. That was just a brief breakdown. I might end up doing one in a little bit more detail. I just wanted to get this one out before the Ravens and the Bills game, because I'm looking at that right now as I'm breaking this one down. But man, if you did enjoy this video, do me a big favor, man. Smash that subscribe button. When you click that subscribe button, man, make sure you click that post notification bell. That way you be notified every time I upload, man. And before you leave off this video, do your boy a big favor, man. Smash that thumbs up button, man. And I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm out this thing. Peace.